Stop recording. Double tap to activate.
Hello, my yarn lovers, my fiber artists, my crafty and creative people, and of course, the non-stitchers who are just craft curious, but you just can't stop watching, even though you don't knit and crochet. It's okay. Everybody's welcome here. So if you're sighted, you know this video's about yarn, and if you're blind or visually impaired like myself, well, I'm sitting on the bed with a mountain of yarn. This is like a chunk, a yarn mountain, okay, got carved out today. So if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for choosing to come back, hang out, and spend a little bit of your day with me. And thank you for your patience while I briefly introduce myself to anybody who might be new to my channel. Hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies. And yes, I also happen to be visually impaired. Yes, I was born this way. Yes, my eyesight has deteriorated more throughout my life. Yes, I am completely colorblind. And you also know, if you're a returning viewer, I am light sensitive. So usually I try to record in the evening when it's dark or just at sunset. Well, today is evening, but it's still pretty bright out. So this video is going to be very challenging for me because I really can't see too much right now. But hey, I spent my whole life like this. So I am going on vacation in a few weeks, as I've said. Actually, not too short. I'm going on vacation soon, at the end of June, first part of July, and so I really want to try to pre-record some content for my channel. My sister's coming. I want to spend my time with my family, and she doesn't want to be on YouTube, and I really want to be respectful of that. So I'm trying to get out some videos ahead of time. So today's topic is discontinued yarn. Yes, this mountain of yarn is discontinued yarn. All these yarns, just about, there's a few that I'm working on, right? You know, if you see me, I got yarn all over that I'm working on. But this whole mountain of yarn, pretty much, are discontinued yarns. What's a discontinued yarn? A discontinued yarn is a yarn that is no longer being manufactured. So you can't buy it from the yarn company anymore. So it doesn't mean you can't buy it from somebody else, right? Secondhand, third-party seller, whatever. But it is no longer being manufactured. So what's out there is out there, and it will not be reproduced anymore. So of course, one of the first questions that we have to take on and discuss is, do we even use our discontinued yarns? Or do we clutch them to ourselves and, my precious, right? I mean, do we just pet it for the rest of its life? Or do we use it, right? Now, I'm sure that there are people who have strong opinions on this topic, and people are welcome to comment in the comment section about any of the discussions on my page. Just remember, while it's totally okay to disagree with people, including me, let's just stay respectful. Be respectful of me, be respectful of others if somebody has an opinion that's different than yours, okay? Because we're all different. I'm sure that, I disagree with people all the time, but we're still friends. We still do things together, okay? So I'm sure there's a lot of opinions on the topic of, do you use discontinued yarns or not? Some people truly think that you should collect them and not use them once they're discontinued, right? Because they're going to get rare. And other people are under the belief that, yeah, you should use them. All yarn should be used. It should be made for blankets and sweaters to keep people warm. And if you're not going to use it, you should give it to somebody who can't afford yarn, and blah, 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 right? And if that's your opinion, that's okay. But my opinion is that if it's your yarn, you get to decide. Yeah, if it's yours, if you bought it with your hard-earned money, if somebody gifted it to you, if somebody gave it to you for your birthday, somebody gave you a gift card to your favorite yarn store for your birthday or your Christmas or whatever, then you get to decide. That's my opinion. If you want to stash it and hold it and touch it for the rest of your life and clutch it, that is your choice. But if you want to use it, you know, I say use it. So then we get to the issue of, you know, I mean, the issue, there's a couple of different things that we have to consider, right, with discontinued yarns, is the yarn company that made it going out of business, meaning it's really not coming back? Is anybody else buying the rights, buying the contracts to it? Or, you know, is it like a lot of times yarn companies will get bought out by other yarn companies. They're saying, hey, we can't do this anymore, and then they get bought out by another yarn company, and they'll take over that company's yarn. So if that's the case, you might be able to find it. You might be able to find it under a different name, possibly, but sometimes yarn companies go under, and nobody buys up the yarn or the rights or the pattern or anything, and you just can't and won't be able to get that yarn. And so that's something, of course, that we have to think about first, right? If it's a yarn company that will be no more, right, and nobody's bought the yarn, then, you know, that might be something to really consider, both when you're saying, hey, never use it, when you're purchasing it, or when you're trying to plan a project, versus, hey, it's a yarn that the yarn company is still very much in business, but they're just no longer using that yarn. And why do yarns become discontinued? Well, because we know our favorite yarn companies are always rolling out new product. They're always rolling out new yarns every spring, right? We all want to see the new yarns. And so we got to make room for other yarns, right? So yarns do kind of have to come and go. And usually, unfortunately for me, I tend to love novelty yarns. Okay, I do. I love fun yarns. I love different yarns. So some of these are just some of my favorites, right? These are some of my favorite novelty type yarns. Like this is, I don't even know. This is like a glitter ribbon. This is an old Lion brand for a while, had partnered with Martha Stewart for a while. And so they have a bunch of Martha Stewart yarns. And this is just one of them. This is called Glitter Ribbon. Now, because Lion brand is no longer partnered with Martha Stewart, that's probably never coming back, right? So this is probably a yarn. I don't know what to do with it totally. I have, you know, I'm fascinated by ribbon yarns, and I don't always know what to do with them. So this is what I have right here. I have 9 balls of Martha Stewart glitter yarn. Am I going to use it? Save it? Am I going to find a project? Am I going to sell it? You can sell it. You can trade it. So let's talk about that too. If you're either wanting to sell yours or trade yours, maybe you've got 4 of one color, and that's okay. Like this is another novelty yarn. This is another Lion brand. This is their color waves, and interestingly, this is the old boucles. This is the red sunset. And I have 4 of these. So, you know, is that enough for a project or not? So when I chose it, I had it in 2 different colors. I had another color that was some kind of Caribbean sea. And I think I only had 3 of those. And I was really wanting to use it. And I didn't know what to do. So let's talk about when you do want to use it. Of course, you can go to the internet and try to find some, okay? But that, you know, you can go to second-hand stores, right, and get yarn. So you can certainly go to your local thrift stores, your Goodwills. You can look for it. And the good thing about buying yarn from sort of an independent third party is you get to, you know, if you can touch it, right, then you can smell it. Does it smell okay? Does it feel like the legit thing or not? I'm allergic to cigarettes, so I'm never going to buy a yarn that smells like cigarettes. That's been in the home of a smoker, because you're not getting that smell out of there likely. So for me, you know, I would go to a thrift store and smell the yarn and see, does it smell like cigarettes or not, right? In today's world, we have the internet, and there's all kinds of marketplaces where you can buy yarns, including a lot of discontinued yarns. So you most definitely will find sellers and people that want to sell and or trade their different colors of discontinued yarns. Now, first of all, I am in no way saying, going to endorse the safety or security of any of these platforms. I'm just telling you that you can look at discontinued yarns. People at Etsy have it to sell. eBay, Ravelry, and Facebook Marketplace are sort of places where people put yarn for sale on the internet. I would say, if you're not comfortable with that, I'm not vouching for the safety or security of any of those systems. You buy at your own risk, okay? I have never bought off of Facebook Marketplace. I've never bought anything off of eBay. I have bought electronic patterns off of Etsy and Ravelry, and I only use PayPal. I don't use my debit card there. I don't use my credit card there. So those are always the things to think about with online sellers. Yes, you could be doing business from somebody all the way across the world from you. And that's exciting about the internet. But of course, there's always risks too. And there's risks from buying somebody in the next state. I live in the United States. There's a risk from buying from somebody in my own hometown, right? So interacting and engaging with commerce with strangers in general, when you're away from sort of a store platform, always can come with risks, right? So I'm just telling you that it might be nice if you could get, the color waves from somebody in the town over, and I could just drive over. I could actually look at the yarn. I could touch it. I could smell it, right? And I've even heard of some people selling, advertising fake Malabrego, right? I love Malabrego. I would be so tempted to buy some Malabrego that I found on, Etsy or Ravelry for $10 a skein. Good deal. And then people end up giving them a knockoff. Basically, who knew? But apparently there's people selling fake yarns of some of the more high-end, the Malabregos and stuff, yarns. So do be careful, right? What you buy, where you buy it from. Know that there's risks, that you might not get what you think you're getting. And also, if there's benefits of meeting the person in person, right? Saying, I want to touch the yarn, I want to smell the yarn. But of course, just like any of that thing, like the old Craigslist scams and stuff, people have literally been murdered meeting strangers to buy things off of Craigslist. So always use caution if you're going to meet somebody in person, right? Bring a friend if you can. Meet them in a public space like a coffee shop or the parking lot of your police department, somewhere very public, very visible. In the daytime, bring a friend if you can. Always, always be careful. But you can certainly meet people in person to look at the yarn and to smell it and to touch it. But of course, some people that we want to buy yarn from off of Ravelry or off of eBay or Etsy could be across 3,000 miles away. In the United States, it could be a couple thousand miles away. It could be across the ocean from me. So just know that you may or may not get what was advertised. And be careful with your financial information. That's what I'm going to say about that. But you can look on all of those sites to find discontinued yarns, and you just might find what you're looking for. Okay, so let's get back to the color waves. This is the color waves. It's a boucle polyester. It's a number 5, super bulky, from Lion Brand. And by the way, Lion Brand for some reason did 2 different yarns called color waves. One was a DK, one was this boucle. Both have been discontinued. And I don't think that they're going to bring it back. I wish that they would. And that's the other thing. If it's a company that's still in business, they might bring a yarn back, versus companies that go out of business, that there's no chance of them bringing the yarn back, right? But Knit Picks and We Crochet have been known to bring yarns back before. They have! So if they've had a yarn that's in high demand that people really want, like Comfy Sport, that's a good example. They have their Comfy, I love the Comfy worsted, I love the Comfy fingering. They had Comfy Sport became discontinued, and then guess what? They brought Comfy Sport back. Yeah, they did. So if they think a yarn's in high demand and people want it, they will bring it back. But I don't think that Lion Brand is going to be bringing back, although I wish that they would. I don't think they will. So this is a 3-pack of the colorways, the polyester boucle, and the sunset red. And I had 3 skeins of it in the Caribbean blue as well. And so for me, because I did go on Ravelry to see who had it, right? To see if I could buy more skeins. But then, of course, there's the whole dye lot issue. And that's the other thing that you have to worry about. If you're buying yarn off of Facebook Marketplace or off of Ravelry or eBay or Etsy to try and match it with what you have at home, always remember dye lots can differ dramatically, especially with hand-dyed yarns, especially with the Malabregos and the Madeline Tosh, those kinds of yarns. There's a huge difference sometimes. So even if you did get the Malabrego reels, you got the real genuine thing sent to you from Bulgaria, it's the same color in the Ravelry red, it still might not match your dye lot. So that's also something to keep in mind. So if you're like me and you don't necessarily want to buy yarn off the internet from sort of a third-party dealer, individual's collection, then you have to make decisions like, what am I going to do with only 3 skeins of the colorways in the Caribbean, right? So when I realized that, at first I was like, well, I could just make a hat and a scarf and some fingerless gloves and that'll be enough. Or I thought about just making like a crop jacket, like a shorter jacket that was just maybe sort of waist length, maybe some shorter sleeves, that kind of a thing, right? And just being like, oh well, I'll work till I run out of yarn, basically. And then the more I started working with it, the more I started thinking, you know what? I do want it long sleeve. I do want it to go past my waist. And so I started thinking about what yarn do I have in the house that's of a similar color, what yarns would match. And of course, you know, I'm colorblind. So I was actually looking to measure yarn weight first, okay? So I knew I wanted like a bulky or a super bulky to go with this yarn, right? Because this is a number 5 bulky, so I knew I wanted another 5 bulky to go with it. So I started looking through my yarns, and then I, of course, because I'm colorblind and I don't know what colors go with what, I had to look at some of my bulkies that I thought would look okay, and then text pictures to my sister across the country from me and be like, what color's gonna match, right? So she did help me out. So she chose this blue, which this is the Valley Yarns Haydenville bulky. And I think she chose really, really well. This is a sweater that I did design this completely myself. I do, if you're on my channel, you know I love to design my own pattern, just kind of on the fly as I go. And this was definitely a pattern. This sweater, it's in my profile picture, at least for now. I'll probably change my profile picture at some point, but my profile picture right now on YouTube does have this sweater in it, and the Caribbean blue and the shades. I just love the way the colors play out. So I definitely designed this on the fly. I had no idea. At first I thought I was going to make it like a long sleeve crop jacket, so just stop it where the ribbing's at, right? And if you're blind or visually impaired, it is long sleeve. It is 2 different mediums here, 2 different. It's got the boucle for the chest and the upper body. And then for the sleeves and the waist, I did the Haydenville bulky. I did ribbing on the waist. And then I went back to my boucle and put that below the waist and flared it out. And so at first I wasn't thinking of doing that though. I was just thinking like crop jacket, and I was just going to stop it at the waist and then use the rest of the boucle for the sleeves, right? And so I literally did just design this as I go, and it was based upon what yarns do I have in the house that can match the weight, that can match the color, that can go with this project. But don't be afraid to be creative that way. If you don't want to go on Facebook Marketplace or Ravelry or Etsy or eBay or something like that, then just work with what you have in the house, or even shop for something similar. If you're like me and you're like, okay, I want a bulky number 5 in a medium blue, you can go on the internet and try to find something similar to match, right? So that's definitely something that you can do. So I would say when you're designing, right, and obviously you might not find a pattern for it, like you might find patterns for the discontinued yarns, but then you might realize, oh, I want to make that, but I don't have enough to make that. That's happened to me, where I buy the yarn and then it's been discontinued and I'm like, wow, I can't go back and supplement that, right? So now I have 4 skeins and the sunset red. I could probably make a whole jacket with it, or I could probably do a similar thing. I could probably trim it up in another color, or you know what, I could sell it or trade it to somebody if they wanted, or of course I could just clutch it and keep it forever, because it will never be manufactured again unless Lion Brand decides to do that. So that is definitely one of my favorite Lion Brand yarns. So I was really, really sad to see them discontinue, right? Now, could they bring it back? They could, right? If enough of us were like, we want that yarn, bring it back. Who knows? They might listen, or they might bring back something similar, right? Something better, even like that's the one thing too, is that manufacturing has improved so much over time that sometimes they end up bringing us something better. Now, do I think that I'm ever going to get more of this glitter ribbon yarn? No, probably not, because they're not partnering with Martha Stewart. But there are other yarn companies that are doing some fun glittery ribbon yarns. So I just need to get out there and do some looking. So that's the other thing that I wanted to talk about, is I don't know how many of you use yarn substitution. And so that's a website that I wanted to make sure that all of you are aware of. It's yarn substitution, yarn sub. And this is one of my favorite websites as a crafter, as a designer, as a knitter, as a crocheter, right? I nerd out. I do. I'm a total nerd, and I nerd out on yarn substitution, okay? And so when you get there, you can just search, right? You can just put in whatever you want. I don't tend to go there.
For example, Cascade 220. You can also search by fiber content gauge in.
Lots more. That's usually where I go to.
We have a large database of current and discontinued yarns that you can browse directly.
And then I go to browse directly. That's what I love to do. I love to get on there and just browse the yarns. Now, if you're visually impaired, they have a variety of lists of yarn companies, right? And they're in alphabetical order. But what to keep in mind is that there's about 4 different lists in alphabetical order, okay? So if you're going through the first list and it seems short and you can't find your yarn company, gotta keep swiping, right? And they get to the next list and the next list and the next list, because unfortunately there are so many yarn companies that do go out of business. So you're gonna start with Burnett, Berroco. So we'll just choose Berroco, right? And so the first thing that you get is the current yarns. The first list are yarns that are still being manufactured. And if you're visually impaired, you have to swipe through everything. And it's a lot of swiping. And sometimes I do scroll a little bit, because I know that these are in alphabetical order of current yarns. Okay, so Ultra Alpaca, I know I'm getting close to the end. And then you get to the discontinued yarns. And so the fun thing with this is that you can then scroll through all of their bonsai. We'll choose bonsai because somewhere in this pile, believe it or not, we have some berroco bonsai right here. Okay, so once you get to your selection, we've got bonsai discontinued. Let's see, I think we missed the worsted. Okay, so the very first thing is you get the weight, you get your worsted. It'll tell you the style of the yarn, bamboo, the fiber. It'll tell you your recommended needles, your gauge. It'll usually show you a picture, and then you've got animal fibers. It'll tell you info, and then it'll start showing you yarns that you can substitute for it. So if you come across a pattern, right, that you really want to make, but you don't have enough of the yarn, then guess what? They help you find new yarns. So that's really cool. For me, I'm like, okay, like I had this pattern for the bonsai yarn, let's say. Okay, there's a pattern in the bag with my bonsai yarn. So clearly this was something, not only, actually I did start making this pattern. I'll tell you that there's a skein of it in here that's partially used. I started making the pattern, and then guess what? Yeah, I made a mistake. Had to unwrap it, had to unknit it, okay? And then didn't get back to it. And not only that, but then I tangled it, and then I had to cut my yarn. Oh my God, it was sad. It was a sad day, and now it's a discontinued yarn. But, so say now I have this pattern in here, and now I realize that I bought this yarn over 10 years ago. And maybe I had intended to make this pattern. And now I realize that because maybe I used the yarn, it didn't work out for me. I had to cut the yarn. Maybe I have less of the yarn than I thought I did. Or gasp, maybe I've grown. And I'm 47 and I'm not growing vertically, right? But maybe I've grown, okay? Maybe I'm larger than I was when I bought the yarn. Now, I am not, okay? I'm 119 pounds right now. I'm not larger than I was when I bought the yarn. But there were times within those 10 plus years where I certainly have been larger. There are times when I've been up to like 145 pounds, okay? So my weight fluctuates. So maybe now I had whatever 6 skeins of this yarn, maybe. I don't even know how many skeins we have in here of berroco bonsai. This is a bamboo blend. This is a really cool yarn. It's one of these kind of novelty yarns, and so unfortunately it's one of those that gets discontinued quickly. I love, love, love novelty, fun, funky yarns like bamboos and flashy stuff and glittery stuff, but they're not real popular. So unfortunately, yarn companies discontinue them quickly. So this bonsai is a discontinued yarn. And say I had this pattern in here, and I don't know how many skeins I need for that, but maybe I discover I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then whatever, 6, and then, oh, I got 7. I got more of this stuff than I realized. And then I got this partial skein that I had to use and cut up. So I actually have 8 of these. So I probably have enough to make a top or something that would fit me. But maybe I didn't. Maybe I did grow it. Maybe I would need a larger size now. So that's the really nice thing about yarn substitution, is that maybe I still really, really, really want to make this top, but I now need 10 balls of yarn, 10 hanks of yarn, because I put on some weight. So that's kind of the cool thing, is it allows you to go through yarn substitution and find yarns that you can substitute, right? All of these yarns, it's going to tell you the percentage of the match. It's going to go with your best match to your least best match. And it's going to go over some differences. It's going to go over the gauge. It's going to go over the fiber content. So if I really wanted to make this pattern, but I realize this is a discontinued yarn that's never going to be manufactured again, I can look for a substitute. And I love it because they'll say, I always look for gauge first, right? That's important. Even though I don't do gauge swatches, matching the gauge of the yarn is really important to me. And then matching the fiber content. I'm probably going to struggle some. 89% or 82% or whatever that said is the closest top match. That doesn't surprise me with a lot of my yarns because they are novelty yarns, right? There's not going to be a lot of good matches. There are a lot of yarns on here who have been discontinued that you'll find like a 99% match. It's literally the exact same gauge, it's the exact same fiber type, and it's not going to be too hard to find a good match. But the bonsai, the best that they can do is another berroco at 82% match. So the gauge is a little off, the fiber content's probably not the same. So I am stuck with working with these 7 full plus, partial skeins with whatever I want to do with this. So, I'm either going to have to figure out if I can still make this pattern or not, right? Or if I put on weight, which I haven't, I should be okay. Or I have to find a smaller pattern, or I can modify the pattern. So, if it were a long sleeve sweater or something, you might have to put short sleeves, right, on your pattern, if that's the only issue. I believe that this is a short sleeve, if I recall. Yes, this is a short sleeve top. So changing the sleeve length isn't probably going to help me here, but it looks like it's a fairly long top. It looks like it's kind of tunic-y length right past the waist, tunic-y length. So that's one thing that I might have to do if I really did want to remake this, would be to say, okay, mine's not going to be as long as the original pattern, okay? So that's one thing that you can do as well. If you can get on, if you have enough yarn, then by all means do the pattern that you bought it for, right? But if you don't, you can, if you're really set on the pattern, then go a yarn substitution, right? Or look at modifying the pattern that you wanted. And then hold on to your berroco bonsai for something else, or clutch it forever, right? Or trade it, sell it, whatever. So for me, this is the only berroco bonsai that I have. I think, I know I mentioned before, I do have yarn in the basement that's been in storage like forever. So I don't even know what I have down there. I don't know if I have more. They got moved out from the basement storage, so I don't know what I have down there. I do know I have a lot more discontinued yarns, but I don't know everything that I have. So, whatever I have, these 8 skeins or so, is probably what I'm stuck with. Whatever I do, I'm going to have to make work with these 8 skeins. So for me, I'm probably going to use the berroco bonsai, but I'm going to choose wisely what I choose to do with it, right? Because it's not special to the point. It is a neat yarn. It's a cool yarn, and it's the only bonsai that I have. It's a bamboo fiber. It's a sleek. It's got a really neat texture to it. I don't know how. I don't think I got it real close to the camera. It's got a really neat kind of texture-y. It's a bamboo. It's a flat yarn. It's not a round yarn. It's almost like a thin ribbon type yarn. So I'll choose wisely my pattern, so that it's something, but I'll use it. I think that I will use the berroco bonsai. It's not one that I want to just, have forever. But I think that's kind of the thing, is once a yarn is discontinued, you really, if this is all that you have, then you really have to choose wisely. And so, okay, the pattern that I make with it, that's it. I can never use this yarn again. So you want to choose something that's really, really special, right? Like I want to choose something that I really want to make, that I really want to wear, that I'll probably want to wear for years to come. That's special, because once I use up these 8 skeins, I won't be able to make something with berroco bonsai again. Yeah, choose wisely, May, right? So that's, I think, something that we have to consider, right, when we work with discontinued yarn is once you make something, if you decide to make something, that's it, right? That's the one and only garment, or the only 3 garments or 5 garments or whatever you have that you're going to be able to make. I have more of these other. This is a Filatura di Crosa. I believe this is also a yarn company that has gone out of business. This is their new smoking yarn. Look at this. This is so cool. This is like a real thin, like more thin, glittery ribbon. And again, I've got about 9 or 10 skeins of that. I tend to buy this stuff in 9 or 10 skeins, and then, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But it's certainly fun. It's certainly sparkly. And so this is probably, these novelty yarns are definitely probably going to be harder for me to, find patterns that I can just substitute a yarn for. They are. So this is another one of my favorites that I was really sad to see discontinued. This is the Noshaway hand knits. It's the Grand Opry. It's a sparkly, I believe it's a DK yarn. Now I do have another bag of this, at least in a different color, in the basement. That I do know for sure. I have at least one more color of this. I've got a pattern in the bag. For a while, I was really set on only buying, yarns that I had specific patterns for. So, I would buy the yarn, I'd stick the pattern in the bag and make sure that went to that designated project. So now that this is a discontinued yarn, I probably, will make whatever. I think this is a jacket or something like that, like a sparkly. I think I was going to make like a sparkly cardi or like a sparkly jacket with this. I'm pretty sure. I don't even remember what color this is. I have no idea. I think it's a, oh gosh. I think it's a pink or a red, maybe. I'm not totally sure. But it's sparkly. So when I think about this, I'm like, well, okay, this is all that I have to make. So I hope that I have enough for whatever project I was wanting to make with it, right? And if not, then I'm going to have to get on the yarn substitution, right? And find, if I don't have enough to make, I think this is a jacket, a sparkly cardi or jacket, then I'm going to have to find a substitute. And I do think that maybe I have a sparkly in the Haiku Simplicity. And I don't remember if that's a number 3 or a number 4 wet yarn, but that's a possibility. There are some other sparkly yarns out there. I think a lot of the sparkly yarns they have tend to be number 4s. But I'm sure that I will find a number 3. And this is even a pretty thin 3 if you ask me. But whatever I make with this, right, it's got to be something that I choose that's special, right? I got to be like, okay, you know what? This is what I have, and there's no more. That's, gotta choose wisely, basically. Yeah. So that's kind of, let's see. Oh, we got the fun furs. I wanted to talk about the fun furs from Lion Brand. Well, actually, let's talk about this. This is like this is the Plymouth Yarn Alpaca Lace, and I believe it's in like an off-white kind of color. This is a very, very fine lace weight yarn. It's beautiful. It's very soft. I'm okay with it being discontinued, right? I don't need to buy a bunch of lace weight yarn because I'm already discovering that lace weight yarn, I will use it, but it does take a lot of patience. As you can tell, my scarf is my mohair scarf, which is still here on the bed with me. That's a long-term project, right? That's a long-term project. That's going to take me months to do. So, as much as I love to buy lace weight yarn, I don't need to buy lots and lots and lots of it, because you could probably stretch out a lace weight yarn for several months and just work on that. And also, I looked this up in yarn substitution before, and if you do that, it'll tell you that the Knit Picks We Crochet Alpaca Cloud Lace It's like a 99% match, okay? So it's literally the exact
Red
same
circle talk
fiber
Coconado. Will LA
content.
escalate and will Trump use the Insurrection Act?
100% baby alpaca lace. They're the same width, same gauge, that kind of thing. So I don't have to be too sad about the Plymouth Yarn alpaca lace. So you know what? I'll probably keep this one. It'll probably just be one. It might be one that I never even use. It might be one that I could even trade with somebody, right? Maybe somebody has a different yarn. Maybe they want, I've got 3 of these in here. Maybe they want 3. You know, maybe they've got some in the same color, but they want more, that kind of a thing. Yeah, so I think that's, you know, I'd like to have more of it, but it's totally okay. Some of these yarns get discontinued, and I'm super, super sad. And then others of them, I'm sad for a moment, and then I'm like, you know what? It's totally gonna be okay. Because even though I do get sad about some of them being discontinued, I remind myself that there's always new yarns coming out, okay? There just is. And so, you know, I get sad about like these fun furs. I was really, really sad for a while when Lion Brand discontinued their fun fur. And this is my scarf. This is a silver gray scarf that I made out of the Lion Brand fun fur. And I like it. I do. I love my fun fur scarves. And I'm really, really sad that Lion Brand did discontinue the fun fur. But at the same time, they discontinued the fun fur. They have discontinued, this is the fun fur in white, I believe, I think. Oh, this is not my fun fur. Oh my goodness. Wow. Sorry, your yarn host is visually impaired, and she's also working at a time of day when she can't really see. Just remember that I am blinded by light. So, I can't actually see what I'm doing right now. So sometimes I might grab the wrong yarn. That should come as no surprise to you if you're on my channel. Okay. So this is the Lion Brand fun fur, or maybe it's the festive fur. They had like 3 different fur yarns. They had fun fur, they have festive fur, they had glitter eyelash fur. And yes, they're really fun. I even made myself a pair of leg warmers. Oh, they were like brown, and then they had like a sparkly eyelash yarn on the bottom. They're somewhere. They were in the basement. They got moved out into storage. So I don't have that access to those anymore. And they were super cool. And I am going to remake them in a different fur yarn. No, I am sad, and I did get on the internet. When fun fur was discontinued, I did get on the internet, and I did, you know, look for some from different sellers and that kind of a thing. And I did buy some. I did, but not a lot, because even though I'm sad, I did understand that there would be more new yarns, right? This is a cool scarf, it's fun, but there would be more new yarns, and guess what? There are more new yarns. So, and I do think, as sad as I am, I think that the fur yarns have improved tremendously over time. I actually kind of like, I buy my fur yarns now. I get the Fable fur from Knit Picks and We Crochet. And that is actually a nicer fur. That's what Mr. Bear is made out of now, right? So he's a nicer fur. He's a thicker fur. So, you know, as much as I want more fun fur, as much as I have gone to the internet to look for fun fur, I'm going to be okay. I am. I convinced myself of that. So, let's talk about a few others. Let's see. Oh, what else do I want to talk about? Oh, more of the ribbon yarn. These are definitely, oh, this is my Martha Stewart hemp yarn, right? And so this is another partnership with Lion Brand. And I had it on the bed with me, but of course I lost it, right? I buried it under a mountain of yarn. What a surprise. Okay, this is one of my water bottle slings. It's a water bottle sling, and it's a little cell phone pouch. And this is made out of the Lion brand Martha Stewart cotton hemp, and I liked it for things like this. It's not a real soft yarn, but it's a very sturdy yarn. It's a very durable yarn, and it's really good. It's hard to find a lot of hemp yarns. I did hear though that Lion brand just came out with a new cotton hemp blend, so I don't know. I haven't used it. I don't know what it's like. I don't know how it compares. This is a pretty thick cotton hemp right here. So I don't know how interchangeable. I haven't gotten on yarn substitution to look up this particular yarn. So I don't know how interchangeable this old Martha Stewart cotton hemp is with their new cotton hemp blends. But you know, since I mostly used it for things like water bottle slings or market bags, I do think it makes a really good market bag, because hemp is strong. It's stronger than cotton. It's really strong. And so, you know, if you're somebody who likes to go to the farmer's market and get a bunch of produce and apples and onions and really heavy stuff, the cotton hemp, I think, would hold up really, really well to that kind of thing. So, you know, I have to admit, I'm kind of curious to try their new cotton hemp. I'm curious to see if it's soft or not. Takes a lot of processing to get hemp soft. So, you know, I don't think I'd ever use this particular, I know I wouldn't use this old cotton hemp for a garment, but I would use it for market bags and water bottle things. And so I am curious to see if the new one is soft enough for garments or not. So I'm a little bit sad to see this one end, but at the same time, at some point I'll get my hands on their new cotton hemp, and I will see. Hey, maybe they came out with a new and improved, right? A new and improved version without Martha Stewart. They're done with Martha Stewart. So there is that. Yeah, and then let's talk about like yarn companies that have just completely gone under, like Elan, right? I loved Elan, E-L-A-N-N. If you're visually impaired and you're looking that up, there are two N's on the end of that. This is the Elan Cotton Esprit. It's mostly cotton. It's got just a little bit of elastic in it. So this is a halter top that I knitted up with the Elan Cotton Esprit. It's in brown. It's in the coffee color. I really love this yarn. It's soft. It gets softer as you wash it. It's stretchy. It's just a nice, I like this halter top. I used to wear it a lot. I don't know why I don't wear it more often now, but I do like it. And so this was definitely, I was sad altogether when Elan went out of business. I was sad. And I definitely, that's another thing that I talked about in another video, is what the heck happens to the patterns? Like, who owns the rights to those? Do the designers get to sell them? Do the yarn companies keep them? Like, what the heck happens? So, you know, Elan had a bunch of free patterns on their website that are just discontinued, period. You can't, they're beautiful. You can still see them on Ravelry. You can still look at the patterns on Ravelry, but you can't purchase them anywhere anymore. So that's sad. But of course, I'm sad that Elan went out of business. And this is a pretty unique yarn. So it's similar to Cascade Fixation. That's probably close, but in my opinion, Cascade Fixation is a little bit thicker than the Elan Esprit. I think you could interchange them, but I think that you would probably have to change up your gauge, maybe either change up your needle size or go down, you know, change up the pattern, maybe go down a size in the pattern. Like if you were making a pattern that was written with the Elan Esprit, and you wanted a size medium, if you were using the Cascade Fixation, you might go down to the small or the X small or something. So keep that in mind too. If you're trying to substitute out a yarn and it's a different size, like I just don't remember how closely these two are engaged. But I want to say the Esprit is just a little bit, I want to say it's just a little bit smaller, but it's been years. It's been over 10 years since I made that halter top. So I just don't I just don't remember for sure what it was like to work with and how it compared to, I think it's just a little bit smaller, but I think they're close, and I think if you did some adjustments to the patterns, I think you could possibly still use your Elan cotton esprit, and or you could use the patterns and use the cotton fixation from Cascade. So I still have some of this in, I think that this is black. It's either black or brown or red or something. I don't honestly, I don't remember. So that, you know, all of the Elan yarns, I was sad. They have beautiful yarns, and I was very, very sad to see them, to see them go, basically. Look at this. This is some more fun. This is more fun fur. Oh, this is my fun fur. This is so sad that you can never get this again. But it is okay. It is. I know that fur yarn has improved. I know I will have other new fur yarns in my future, so I'm not going to be super sad. Knit Pixley Crochet just discontinued their Alpaca Cloud DK. You might be able to find a few colors still for sale. This is a yarn, I'm not going to lie, I am sad about it. I am. This is so soft. When they call it cloud, they mean cloud. This is like scarf yarn. This is next to your skin sweater yarn. I loved Alpaca Cloud DK, and I am sad to see it go. Now, you know what though? There's still lots of alpacas in the world. Alpacas are not extinct. And so I keep reminding myself of that when I get sad about, about the Alpaca Cloud DK being discontinued. I remind myself, alpacas are not extinct. So there will be other alpaca clouds. I'm sure I can put this in yarn substitution and find this is 100% baby alpaca. It is super soft, but I think that other yarn companies will come up with a baby alpaca DK. This is another baby alpaca cloud, and this is from Filatura Lanova, and that I believe is an Italian yarn company that did go out of business, which of course I'm very sad about, right? The whole yarn company gone. So of course I had to get some of their alpaca cloud. I think this is more of like a Surrey alpaca, like the fluffy type alpaca, and I do think it's thicker than the Knit Pixley Crochet alpaca. And I couldn't necessarily use, because this is a furrier, fluffier alpaca. They're not necessarily interchangeable, right? Like the alpaca cloud from Knit Pix, I could probably do it like a sweater, a garment. I don't know if I would do that with maybe like a cardi or a scarf or something. I don't know, but they're not the same type of alpaca. You can definitely see that one is fuzzier than the other. But I was definitely sad about this whole yarn company, right? This Italian yarn company, Filatura. I'm not even positive I'm saying that correctly. I didn't ever take a class in Italian, so I don't know that I'm pronouncing Italian correctly. This is more of the Filatura Lanova Italian yarn and the alpaca. And I'd already looked at, there's a pattern in here too that I was all set to make with it. So I think I already had substitute. I think if I recall, the pattern in the bag with it was for a llama yarn, and I didn't have that yarn, and so I was just like, well, llama and alpaca fiber is similar, and it is, right? They're relatives, it's similar, so sometimes you can swap out that kind of a thing in the same weight of a yarn. And now I just have to hope that I actually have enough of this Italian alpaca to make the pattern that I intended. So I don't know if there's a lot of other ones that I wanted to talk about that on here that are really special. This is the Cascade Sunseeker. It's another one of these sparkly yarns that I just love. I think it's Oh gosh, I don't even remember what this one is. I think it's a number 3. It's sparkly. It's probably like a nylon acrylic blend or something. So not a super, super special fiber. To me, it was of course just special because, you know, it's sparkly. And you know I love the sparkly. So when the sparkly goes out, I always have to try to get stash up on the sparkly. So, you know, it's harder to find sparkly yarns, but I will find them, right? I will. So yes, of course I was sad that Cascade discontinued Sunseeker, but there'll be more sparkly yarns. I did want to talk about another Cascade yarn and how you can kind of deal with it. Okay, this is sort of like a shrug type sweater that I did not design this myself. I bought the pattern for this. I don't remember. Oh, this is Grandma's Hug Shrug. That's right. This pattern is called Grandma's Hug Shrug, okay? You can purchase it off of Ravelry. And the yarn that I used, and I want to say it's the yarn that it was intended for, like actually written for, but I could be wrong. And it's the Cascade Venezia, and I'm not positive if I'm saying that correctly, worsted. Now, this because I chose to make the pattern after the yarn had been discontinued. I had to deal with what I had in the house, right? Which was, I think, 4 skeins. I'm pretty sure I had 4 skeins. The yarn had been discontinued. I was out of options. So, I love this yarn, by the way. I am sad that Cascade chose to discontinue this yarn. This is a merino wool. It's super, super, super soft plus silk. It's a merino wool silk blend. And it is not superwash, right? But it is so incredibly soft. I love some of these merino silk blends are just incredibly soft, you know. So I love the feel of this yarn. And I haven't yet found, I'm going to be honest with you, I have yet to find a replacement for it. I haven't found anything that is as soft as Cascade Venezia. But when I decided to make this pattern after the yarn had been discontinued, I knew that I was stuck with the 4 skeins that I had in the house. And so you can tell that I ran out of yarn. There's this lace trim, this lace collar that's going around the top of it. And that lace was actually supposed to go around the entire garment, right? All the way around the bottom, all the way around the entire garment. And guess what? I ran out of yarn. Yeah, I did. I'm super itchy. Sorry about that. I got allergies. I'm itchy. I'm congested. So I ran out of yarn to make this lace all the way around. I had just a little bit left, and I knew it wasn't going to make it around the bottom. So that's sometimes something that you have to, sorry, excuse me, I'm so itchy. That's something that sometimes you have to make a decision about when you're working with a discontinued yarn. It was like, well, I knew I couldn't make what little yarn I had left stretch across the bottom. So this was a time when I had to modify the pattern and say, you know what? We're just going to put the lace trim around the top. And we're going to call it good, right? So that's what we did. And I think it looks okay. You can tell me. But I think it looks okay with just the lace. I don't want to wear it too long. It is super hot here today. Oh my goodness. It's in the 90s here today. So, you know, it's not exactly how it was written. But I don't think anybody out on the street is going to look at this and recognize that this was Grandma's Hug Shrug pattern and that I didn't make the lace go all the way around, okay? So I think it's going to be okay. So that's also something to take into consideration when you're working with discontinued yarns. And you're like, by the time I got around to making the intended pattern, I didn't buy enough yarn, or I grew and I had to size up. Pretty sure that's what happened to me with this one, because I was overweight for a time when I made this when I was living here, and I was overweight. I was, so I'm pretty sure I had to size up to a pattern size that was bigger than what I'd bought the yarn for. And so then I ran out of yarn. So that is also something to keep in mind when you're dealing with discontinued yarns. It's like, okay, you can use them, but you might have to modify the pattern. Okay. This, I think, is another Elan. Pretty sure it's like a, it's a fingering weight, some kind of cotton. I'll find just the right project for it. I'm not super worried. It doesn't feel like something super special. It feels like it's probably just a plain old, it feels like a plain old mercerized cotton, honestly. It doesn't even feel like a Pima cotton or anything like that. So, you know, I'll find whatever I have here. I think I've got like 12 skeins of it. I'll just have to find a project that works with, I don't even know the yardage. I have no idea what the yardage is on each one of these skeins. I can't see it, I can't read it, and I don't know. So that will be a thing that if I want to use this, I will have to look this up, find out the yardage, multiply that by 12, right, what I have here. And that's another thing that I can do with yarn substitution, right? Is I can go in and look up Elan Lustrata and then look at, okay, I can substitute these other yarns. So, of course, I could go onto Ravelry and I can look for patterns made out of yarn Elan Lustrata with 12 skeins, whatever the yardage is, times 12. Or I can go onto Yarn Sub. I can find other yarns that match it up to that, and then I can take those yarns that yarn substitution gives me that says, hey, these work, and I can plug those into Ravelry with my yardage, right? And find a pattern to make with this. So like I don't have a pattern in the bag with my Elan Lustrata. And like I said, we lost access to the majority of the Elan patterns when they went out of business. So that's another way that you can work that yarn substitution database, is by looking up your yarn, looking up what other yarns you can substitute for it, and then plugging those in and looking for patterns with those yarns. So I would look for a yarn that met the same gauge as this one. This is a fingering weight, so my guess as it feels is probably, you know, a size 1 to 3 type needle. For a garment, maybe a shawl, I'd go up to a 4 or a 5 or something, and look for something similar with that. So that's another way to think about how to use yarn substitution and how to use your discontinued yarns when you don't have access anymore to the pattern.
Button. Double tap to activate.
Okay, well, my phone stopped recording for a minute in the middle of the video. I did think about making a part 2, but I think I'm just going to try to make this little last bit a little bit shorter, and we'll put it together as one. So another one of the discontinued yarns that I want to talk about briefly, because I know a lot of you might either have it or you have liked it or you wanted it, is the Wool Ease Chunky. Most of us who, you know, have been knitting or crocheting for a while, we kind of like the Wool Ease from Lion Brand. They have the Wool Ease, they have the Wool Ease Chunky, Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and I personally liked the Wool Ease. I even made this dress, and this is a sweater. This is not, I cannot call this my own pattern because I got the pattern off of the Lion Brand website. It's like a tunic type sweater. But I just happened to have enough of the yarn that I was like, you know what? Just keep going. Just keep knitting. Just keep working with it. So this is a super cool, like I ended up making it into a super cool sweater dress. And this is such a fun pattern. I think even though the yarn's discontinued, I think you can possibly still find the pattern on Lion Brand. And it's cool. You start in the middle with the waistband. You make like this little cross cable at the waistband, and then you pick up in it and you work down and you create these little textured ridges, and then you do some ribbing on the bottom, and you do like this sort of, I think it's like a broken rib or a seed stitch, I can't remember what this pattern's called, or a seed stitch broken rib or something, and then you do like this cowl collar. And I just thought it was such a cool pattern, and I had the yarn and I was like, why not make it a dress? So I did. So, you know, some of us who happen to like the wool is chunky, I did check and look it up, and the yarn substitution recommends that the best substitution is also a yarn by Lion Brand. It's their Hue and Me. And that is a number 5, right? Woolly's Chunky is a number 5. That's a chunky as well. It's a wool acrylic blend. Woolly's Chunky is a wool acrylic blend. Machine wash, right? It's a super wash wool. So Hue and Me is also supposed to be a super wash wool. So I know I haven't used Hue and Me. I've never even bought Hue and Me, I don't think. So I don't know how it compares. I think the wool is chunky is soft for a super wash wool and acrylic. I think it's nice and soft. I have no idea how the Hue and Me compares in terms of texture because I haven't used it. But if you are looking, right, if you are wanting a substitute for wool is chunky, I would definitely say try the Lion Brand Hue and Me. Okay. One other yarn from Lion Brand that I really want to talk about was the Vannas Glamour. I loved Vannas Glamour. It is a number 2 sport weight yarn. I don't even remember what, this might be black or the onyx or something. Of course, you know it's another glitter yarn, right? You know that. And so, of course, they discontinued it. Of course, I was sad. And you may have seen this on here before. This is a top that I made out of Vannas Glamour. I did not design this. The pattern, it was a paid for pattern off of Ravelry. And the yarn that it was written for was not Vannas Glamour, but you know, I just had to use this yarn. I think that this top is like a hot pink. I think it's like a hot pink with sparkles. I think it's really cool looking. I really had fun, you know, I think that this yarn is kind of a unique yarn though, between the sparkles and the stretch. It definitely has some stretch. It has some clinginess to it, some elasticity. So I think this one could be a little bit difficult to substitute. I know that Yarn Substitution said that the Lion Brand, I think they had the Bonbons Metallic, which again, I've never used that yarn, so I don't know for sure. But the Lion Brand Bonbons Metallic is what they're saying could be a good substitution for that. Okay, I think since this video has been really, really long, I don't think we're going to talk about a lot of these other ones. Beyond, of course, you know I have some super fun. This is another ribbon yarn, incredible by Lion Brand. Another one of these fun novelty yarns that I think is going to be really challenging, right? Really challenging for me to figure out substitutions for. And of course, we got some more glitter eyelash, you know it. And what is this? I don't even know what some of these yarns are up here. Oh, another yarn company that I know I want to talk about that went out of business was, okay, let's talk about another, the lawn yarn really fast. This is their Sierra Erin, and it is a combination of wool and alpaca, and I believe it's not superwash wool. I don't think it's merino either. It just doesn't feel like merino, right? It's a little bit, it's not, I wouldn't call it like a scratchy or a rustic wool, but it's not as soft as a merino in my opinion. But I think Plymouth yarn has like a baby alpaca wool blend that would probably be a good substitute for this. This is a nice thick, right? It's an Aran. It's on the heavier side of the worsted, I would say, or the Aran. But I think Plymouth has a good substitute for that. Let's see, just a couple more. Oh, the Patent Beehive Baby Sport. Probably this is super soft. This is like a nylon acrylic blend. This was a great baby yarn. I was sad to see this one go. Not that it's not like it's nylon and acrylic. It's not like, you know, anything super special. There's lots of other nylon acrylic blends, but this one was just a really soft baby yarn. I don't know what color this is. It might be white, or I'm not sure, off-white, I don't know. But my guess is that it's a little bit, it's a nice size sport. It's a thicker sport. I'd say it's right on the edge of sport and DK. And so I think probably something like the Cascade Cherub line. I think it's a real similar makeup to Cascade Cherub. So I think Cherub comes in a sport and a DK. So I would play around with that. If you're looking for a substitute for your patent beehive baby sport, I would play around and play with the gauge between the DK, Cherub DK, and the Cherub Sport, and see if you can't come up with a way to make the patterns work. And again, you might have to either, go up or down with your hook or needle size, and or work a size smaller. I've been known to do that before. If I will have a pattern that calls for a sport weight yarn and I want to substitute in a DK weight yarn, so a thicker yarn, I'll just downsize the pattern one size and make it work out like that. So there's lots of little tips and tricks and things that you can do to work right with patterns that aren't, with yarns that are no longer being manufactured, and with patterns that you can't get access to anymore. I think what this is. Let me open it up and see if I can tell. Oh, this is a classic elite. I believe that this is classic silk. It's a classic elite yarns, and that's another yarn company that's gone out of business, sadly, right? I'm so sad to see all these small yarn companies go out of business. But I believe that Valley Yarns. Valley has a yarn called Holly or Hallie or something like that. That would be a good substitution for this particular one. And some of these I just don't know. I don't know, and I really couldn't give you recommendations on some of these. My guess, I like bamboo yarns a lot. I buy a lot of bamboo yarns. This is the cotton. I believe this is the Elan Cotton Bamboo. So another one that I'm probably to find patterns for this. And I have one more bamboo yarn up here. Knit One Crochet 2, which is also their baby boo. I believe the Elan bamboo is a sport weight bamboo, and I believe this particular one is probably a 3 or a 4, right? It's a little bit of a thicker bamboo. I love bamboo. It's a natural fiber. It's breathable. So I like to buy the bamboos, but I guess they aren't very popular because all the yarn companies keep discontinuing them. Well, I think Ice Yarn, which, is one of those things. It's like, well, do you order from Ice Yarns or not? But they do seem to have a nice selection of bamboo yarns, is what people say. So that's probably a place to go if you're looking for yarns to replace your Knit One Crochet 2 baby boo or your Elan bamboo. Probably try Ice Yarns. Okay, well, I don't know that I really have recommendations for a lot of these other this is from the Sheep Shop Yarn Company, so the wool and silk blend, and it's another one of this wool and silk. It's not quite as soft as the Cascade Venezia, but I can't think of a good. It's just one of those that's like sad to see, right? Those little yarn companies going out of business. So I think that's about all that I had up here that I could think of that people might be thinking about, right? When it comes to yarns and when it comes to finding substitutes, when it comes to figuring what to do with discontinued yarns, that's for you to decide whether you use it or you don't use it, keep it, collect it, whatever. So I think most of these at some point I will use. I think most of these, but I just have to know that whatever I pick, I'd better make sure that it's a special project, because it will be the only project that I'll get to make with these yarns ever. And then, either making sure that I have enough yarn, or like I showed you with the shrug that you might have to adapt it, or you might have to make the sleeve shorter, or you might have to add another yarn to it. So those are my thoughts about a number of discontinued yarns. I am very sorry about the interruption, but that's totally okay. That's just technology. That's life. And anyways, I think until next time, my friend, happy stitching. And of course, I always welcome your comments. So like I said, just be respectful of others, but let me know your thoughts on discontinued yarns. Do you use them? Do you collect them? Do you sell them? Do you go out and hunt for certain discontinued yarns? Have you purchased yarns like on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or Craigslist or, you know, any of those places, the Etsy, Ravelry? What have been your experiences? Like I said, I've only purchased patterns on Etsy and Ravelry. So if you purchased there, what's been your experience when you've ordered yarn? Did you get what you ordered? What was the shipping situation? That was one of the things I wanted to say too. If you're ordering off of eBay or Etsy or whatever, make sure that you figure out the shipping situation, right? Are they paying for shipping? Are you paying for shipping? Is it coming from, you know, overseas, right? Is it coming from Slovakia or something? Are you going to have to pay for the shipping? That might cost you a lot more than the actual yarn, okay? So, but let me know your thoughts on discontinued yarns. Let me know if some of these were your favorites, right? Let me know if you have some of these, if you've been like hoarding some of these, if they're yarns that you have in your collection that are like, I'm just waiting, you know, to find the right yarn. Do you pair up things like I showed you that cardi, how I paired up with the colorways and the Haydenville bulky? Do you do those types of things when you run out of discontinued yarns? And how do you deal with that situation? Because that's always sort of the conundrum, right? Of like, okay, you know, this is all I got and there's no getting any more. Like, you know, sometimes it's worth taking a risk if yarns, you know, if you don't quite have enough when you purchase yarn, right? Some of us will repurchase and then sort of take that risk of, do the dye lots match or not? But when they're discontinued, it's not even an option. So, and of course, you know, if you use yarn substitution, do you like it like me? I love it. I absolutely love it. Like I said, I totally nerd out on there and look up stuff all the time. Try to figure out closest matches. Try to look at what I can get, you know, what yarns I can get from my favorite yarn stores that are the closest match in terms of gauge and fiber. So yeah, that's one of the many places I go to on the internet. It's one of my favorite internet tools. So, all right, my friends. Well, thank you so much. If you stuck it out and listened to all of this, thank you so much for listening. Happy stitching and bye-bye for now.
Pause button.